Looks like everybody's pouring in already. How are you today, Shine?
Very good. I have had my coffee, and this is my one, two, three, fourth meeting in the day.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Busy guy, busy guy. I've gotten my coffee as well. Cool. Yes. Let's get started then. Um,
Great.
I'm sure people are aware of the process by now, but I'm recording this session. We will be joined today by Shine from the core engineering team. How this will work is for the first few minutes or the first half of the call, we'll be going through an intro of Shine and the team, the mission of the core engineering squad, etc. And then on the latter half of the call, we'll be going through any questions from the community. So drop your questions in the community events chat now, and then we'll go through that later on in the call. And without further ado, let me quickly introduce Shine. So Shine is our engineering manager for the core engineering team. Very happy that he can join and share more about what the squad does, and very keen to know as well what they have in store in the roadmap, what they're excited about, etc. So, Shine, can you do a quick intro about yourself?
Yeah, just about myself, also the team as well.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Great. So yeah, Sean Lee here. The spelling of the name is just normal, as in sunshine, shine. Most people will stumble by the spelling of that name, but yeah, it's just a normal pronunciation. And I'm the engineering manager for core engineering in Immutable X. So usually a squad like us will be named platform engineering in most companies because we have Immutable X as a platform. So it would be strange to have a platform squad inside a platform as well. So that's why we call it core engineering. Our mission is to empower the Immutable X developers to build high quality software at high speed. So the developers here are essentially Immutable X developers, not as in directly linked to the community or the partners. So we try to enable our internal developers to build something faster with high quality to serve the user and partners' needs. That's
Awesome.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
How big is the team, Shine?
We're a growing team. So currently we have currently the SRE team is actually sitting inside of core engineering, and that's just a caveat. We have let's count the heads here. One, two, four, five. We have 5 people in core engineering at the moment, and
Got it.
there will be another addition in the end of this month, I think. Yeah.
Got it. I have a ton of questions, but before we get there, could you share a bit of an intro or background of yourself, Shine? Have you always been in engineering? What were you doing before Immutable and stuff like that?
Yeah. So yes. This is like a proper interview. So yeah. Okay. All right. So um, I was not always an engineering manager. So I started my career as a hardware engineer. My background was in microelectronics, at the digital side of it, which is just making CPU or GPU. Um, and then I changed my career when I moved to Australia because there's not many IC like chips companies in Australia. So naturally, I picked up my hobby since I was a little kid, programming. So I was a software engineer when I moved to Australia. Since then, it was, I lost track of how many years. It's more than 10 years ago. Since then, I jumped, still within the industry, jumping into different roles, like product managers is one of them. Used to be a CTO for a very small company. Yeah, essentially in this industry for more than 10 years and jump between different roles in software development lifecycle. Last role I was doing work for a company called Digital Asset, which provides a blockchain product for ASX. It's a public project. Naturally, my interest lies in the fintech industry, definitely, and because the last job's relevancy to blockchain, I end up in Immutable. That's a short story.
Got it. Yes, thanks for sharing that. Just thought the community would love to know a little bit more about you as well. You mentioned a while ago that SRE falls under core engineering. Could you explain to people what SRE is?
I mentioned that because it's currently under core engineering. We're actually constantly hiring SRE engineers, and they will be spinning up their own team. So SRE is site reliability engineering. So to keep the not really keep. So the purpose or the end goal would be keep the reliability of the platform. But for doing that, maybe different company had different approach. We try to educate and enable other engineers to produce high quality products, which include keeping the reliability of the product itself. So that's what the SRE functionality does.
Got it. I'm obviously not very technical. I imagine some people in the audience are not very technical as well. Would you mind giving like a short rundown on the difference between what SRE does versus what the rest of the core engineering team does?
Right. Okay. So the SRE side of things involves, for example, very raw or base level infrastructure to cater for the entire platform. That's one layer. The other is to educate, evangelizing best practices regarding, hey, if my site is down, where do I look? There's a problem in production. How do I debug? And to understand the tool we use and how to use them, that falls in the SRE as well to increase the reliability of the platform. But the rest of the core engineering team are focusing on enable the velocity of our engineering team. So how do we make all the engineers in Immutable X to build things faster with high quality? So for example, just naming a couple of things that falls under this kind of umbrella. One is what's the overall architecture that is we regard a good architecture overall that all the team in Immutable X can repeat, and hence building on top of it will produce high quality work. And how do we make other people using those kind of architecture more efficiently? Like, should we help them to generate certain templates or code so they can more easily, more efficiently to hit the ground and running building product features and not worry too much about if I choose this piece of technology, would that be good enough for our throughput requirements or latency requirements? So that's the two aspects of it.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. In that case, do you have any wins or demos or highlights from the past few weeks or months that you are most proud of that you want the community to know as well?
Yeah, the most noticeable one is, I don't have a chat or like a video or demo. Most of the thing
That's
we
okay.
do will reflected in certain graphs.
Mm.
Noticeably is the latency and throughput our platform can handle, and also the availability across different endpoints that the trend of them. So I don't have the numbers on top of my head, but our throughput has, just talking about, when you want to buy an asset, you want to know, hey, what's the attribute on that asset? And is there anyone producing any orders on the asset? So you would query those endpoint to, figure out those information. We have about this is just a purely from my memory, so
Yes,
don't
that's
quote
okay.
me on that. So like 200K requests per 20, is it 20? 200K requests per minute, I think. That was the level of throughput we currently have, which when we started about, forgot, that's last April. That was almost a year ago. Traffic was like maybe 10 or 20 requests per minute.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you can see the difference there. And to cater for, as a startup, you want to produce something quickly, go to the market quicker, to occupy that market, to build your moat. And so I can say the Immutable X platform itself is totally different when it was like 20 RPM versus today, the RPM we're taking. So we have overhauled some percentage. I couldn't give an accurate number there, but a significant chunk of a percentage of the platform to able to do that. And it will continue to do that. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, got it. So this is relevant. Again, just trying to put it in my tiny brain that's not technical. This is relevant for end users because they'll see their pages load more. Is that right? Or is this more relevant for the developers building on IMX?
This is for both. So we're talking about activity, as you said, page loads faster,
Mm.
and not just faster for a single user, but when many users getting onto our site, and it'll be faster for all of them, or a certain percentage of them is the benefit here. And also for partner as well, we have partners doing minting, and to retrieve, to understand, here's my mint actually reflected from our API. They are called the mint endpoint. So the performance and latency around that is crucial as well. So it's essentially for all the users, including partners of our API.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you very much. In that case, what are the things? There's a very good question here from the community. Basically, what can you give us with regard to the core engineering team's roadmap for 2022? What are you working on right now, and what do you want to be able to do for the year?
Yeah, so I guess just to clarify one thing, so our user is actually internal Immutable X engineer.
Mm.
That's the direct user. So everyone using the platform itself and being our partner is the indirect customer and user of ours. So with that in mind, the roadmap will be very closely related to our internal user. And
Mm.
so, but
Mm.
there's no, there's doesn't really matter if that's the user or not, but I can disclose the roadmap down the line. So it will mostly focus on two things. One is evolve the architecture to cater for fast-growing team. When you have, let's say, 5 engineers in a startup, your architecture will be very, very different to cater for the same speed of innovation, comparing to an organization with 200 engineers, for example. And we are in this kind of growth rate and to reach that fairly soon. So that's the number one focus. So refactor the architecture to cater for engineering growth. That's one. What does that mean? Like concretely, we're using different technology underneath. We'll break down any monolithic architecture to event-driven kind of architecture, which cater for that growth and spread the ownership more around individual components in the platform. The second part is if we provide a better architecture, that the implementation on top of it is crucial as well, because you can't, if you know how to have the ship, right? You need to put people on it to run it, to make profit. So in the architecture sense is you have the architecture. So what other components can be changed or improved based on the architecture? So that's the second point, the implementation phase we're focusing on this year as well. So mostly those two things.
Got it. That makes sense. Is there anything that you want the crowd to take away? Like when they think core engineering, what do you think they should always remember or they should always consider when thinking about their squad?
I think is I would put in a different way, as in if you don't hear from us, it's probably a good sign.
Fair enough.
Like the perception or the feeling behind, when you interact with Immutable X, if you today think about, okay, it's you don't think about latency, you don't think about throughput, you don't think about why is it slow, because nowadays people are by default expecting things to work, and things are fast, low latency, high throughput. They expect those things. If you don't think about those things, as in Immutable X platform providers for you by default, you don't have to complain or like thinking about it all the time. Why is it so slow? And we've done a good job to enable that.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is there any or what are the challenges working on this sort of problem? Maybe within Immutable, or maybe it's within the industry, like the blockchain, and creating a layer 2 app. Any challenges that you think people don't know about, but it would be good for them to know?
Yeah, that is actually, but I wouldn't say it is like a new challenge. I would say it's a different. The ratio of problem you encounter will be different in this setting. So let's compare let's just say e-commerce or a trading exchange application with Immutable X. The major difference is the asynchronous handling for on-chain event. That part to seamlessly integrate with your trading platform or your e-commerce site. Normally, you wouldn't think about that too much. The asynchronous component to integrate with some third party in a let's call it traditional web development, percentage of that is not that high. But in Immutable, that's a different story. So all we deal with maybe half the time are about is this trade can be correctly sent to the external party to be processed. When the user withdraw or deposit, how do I reliably, nearly 100% reliably, to retrieve those events and put that into our data store and serving that to the customer? It's just the surface is bigger on those problems.
Got it. What's the impact of that to like an end user's experience? Is it longer withdrawal times or difficult to create a good UI or stuff like that?
Yeah, from the end user perspective, yes, you're right, and we understand it's crucial for people to get their money, especially on the withdrawal side. We have no intention to hold people's money for ransom. So the reliability of, let's say you submit a withdrawal, a certain waiting period, that's just not out of our control. But we want to shrink that period of time to as small as possible. So that means we need to submit them as soon as they come through our platform. Right? And how do we prioritize those kind of traffic with minting activity, which is usually happens in a bulk fashion, like 2 million mints comes in, would they delay the withdrawal? So those kind of things we need to think about. And then also, for example, when the on-chain event to say, I have submitted this withdrawal and it's being included in the batch on-chain, you can see the status update in the smart contract. Now, how do I reliably to record that event so the user can perform that last step of withdraw into that wallet? And that's quite tricky because we are working with certain aspect of the smart contract does not really clearly telling us which withdraw amount is actually matching to which withdraw transaction. There's a bit of a calculation to do to actually figure out, hey, this 2 ETH you're withdrawing is for these 3 out of 5 transactions you have submitted to us. So there's the tricky bit in there, and also you're dealing with the reliability of that. What if we miss one event? How do we recover from that? So, for those crucial parts, we understand the user experience needs to be seamless. So we try to constantly improve, especially on the withdrawal delays.
Got it. So just to try and rephrase or translate that in my head as well, is it correct to understand that you're trying to balance between two things? One is giving people back their money quickly via withdrawals versus being secure slash certain that you're giving them the right money. Is that right? Or maybe I missed something. I surely I missed something.
I'd say they are correct, but it's we want both. We don't want to sacrifice one for the other. Surely, yes, we working with certain constraints that we to a point we cannot reduce the withdrawal waiting time. That's just the nature of it. But any additional waiting on them, we should try to eliminate that. So we do want both. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Aside from withdrawal times, any other either developer facing thing or end user facing impact that your team is very much related to or slash focusing on?
So not directly, but I can provide some insights regarding the role we play to support those end user or partners activities, especially on integration side. So we Immutable has a root in gaming, Gods and Chain, Guild of Guardians, right? So we at a certain point we need to make the experience better and better for integrating with us. So different industry has different requirement, different kind of a way to integrate to make their life easier. So what we do is providing know those customers and then try to facilitate the conversation of how to design a system that is reliable and better for those customers. And so we're playing a supporting role in there instead of directly building for them. But that's definitely a topic will come up this year regarding a better integration with our partners.
Got it. Awesome. Cool. In that case, any other key takeaways you want to ask or you want the crowd to remember before we try and see if there are any questions from the audience?
The key takeaway is, I guess, just shamelessly plug an ad here. We are
Yeah, of course.
we are trying to improve the overall quality of the product and to produce features faster for the community and partners. And that's what we do in core engineering space. And you know what? Follow that. If you are or know someone who's really good at that, feel free to reach out.
Got it. Oh, quick question. Does the core engineering squad deal with Starkware at all?
Yes. So we have the connection between, as in technically, we submit trades, transfers, deposit, withdrawal to StockX. So one of the things we're working on at the moment is to increase that rate. So we are not limiting ourselves regarding how many trades or other transactions we can send to StockX.
Got it. Awesome. Very good question from Mao. Shine, if someone is interested in doing what you're doing right now, how can they get started? What should they study?
It's an interesting question. So the core engineering team has a kind of a persona of having engineers that are, having quite broad skill sets. But they all have a particular area they're really interested in. So if you want to do something like a platform or core engineering work, I would focus on maybe either of the three things. One is understand scalability, building scalable architecture. That's one. And you need lots of hands-on experience looking for, companies have scaled that infrastructure by X number of user or throughput is beneficial. The second one is understand, like the pain points or have empathy for engineers, like produce toolings. How do we make other engineers to be faster? So normally you would start contributing to open source projects, because in that world, people are very upfront, as in, no, it doesn't work for me. Your experience provided here in this repository does not work for me. It's a not very good experience for me. So you will learn faster in that sense. So you could also specialize in, for example, certain aspects of the infrastructure, for example, database performance. So that would be something going to core engineering would be most the interesting skills that we'll be hiring.
Got it. From your personal experience, Shine, did you find any project or experience that you did that really prepared you for the work that you're doing right now?
I think it's mostly the different roles I've been before that
Mm,
prepare me for this kind of job because and doing engineering manager for core engineering is you need to connect the dots of everything basically. You want to cater for everyone inside your organization, all the engineers. So you need to know you have two layers of users here. You have your direct user, your engineers, and their users. So I think being a product manager before helped a lot to think about this kind of a, it's highly technical, but to think about it from the product development, product design perspective is very beneficial.
got it. Could you give a flavor of like the broad range of problems slash situations that you find yourself in with your current role, such that you say you're dealing with everything in the organization?
Yeah, so I can make one example. I'll call it
Mm,
a vertical example, right? So we
mm,
have certain endpoints in our API, and then you can look at that vertically in different ways. For example, when you look at from the database perspective, you would look at, oh, okay, so I have a hotspot in here that I have a query comes in, but the response time is like 3, 4 seconds, or even sometimes 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Now, that means you're going to deal with indexes on the database. How do you optimize the queries to make it faster? It's very technical, right? Down to this kind of technical
mm,
problem. But when you raise
mm.
your head to look up, you would ask why this is hot in this area. Why we have like so many query patterns comes in that I couldn't catch up to cater for. Probably because your endpoint is designed in a way that try to cater for every single use case. For example, it's being used for connecting with partners for a particular use case. It was connecting to different marketplace for different use cases, which probably you need think about how do you design your endpoint better. But that's another vertically that's another layer. So
Mm,
but when you're thinking about that problem, you want to stop there, right? Because you wouldn't stop there by not understanding what is actually the problem the partner or user wants to solve and what's their need. Maybe that is a way for them to for a partner to sync this endpoint, to call this endpoint uh, because of a certain reason that I can provide a different way to solve that problem to eliminate the need to use this endpoint at all. So you look at this problem vertically in different way. Then you on the top you would connect to our customer and understand the product usage. Look at the product stats and data. In the at the very bottom, you look at a particular query to solve a problem. That's the I guess that's the span of the challenge here.
got it. No wonder you have meetings left and right, especially on a Thursday morning. Awesome. There's another question here from Domokil. Can you tell us what specifically are you working on the API side to fix a specific problem? For example, in the current IMX technology, there are no costs for each transaction. But when the platform needs to take a percentage of each transaction, I think what Domokil is talking about is the protocol fee, then the protocol needs to change to accommodate for that. How do you go about doing this?
Um, So I think that's a particular question for another team regarding the product development side of things.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so
Fair
I
enough.
couldn't comment on their design around their features. Yeah, couldn't really answer that
Does
question.
this affect the core engineering squad at all, or not? Not really.
The role we play in there is we try to, at a certain stage of the technical design and implementation, we would slot in or invited into the conversation to say, hey, I have this design here. Teach me to understand what's the impact of the overall performance of the API. And then that's where we go in.
Got it. Awesome. This question is from Issy. I'm not sure if your squad is touches on this at all, but let me ask a question. Are there any plans to utilize StarkNet for Immutable X?
Yeah, so again, that's a question for another team called Primitives. Yeah, but all I can say is not core engineering at the moment, but we are actually doing hands-on work on StarkNet.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that. Another question from Mao. Shine, what inspired you to work with Immutable X?
Yeah, so maybe I touched this a little bit, so I'll just make it more clear here. I always have an interest in fintech. That's just my background, like just because my family, there's certain aspects of it, like made me prefer this industry. And also, before Immutable, I was working on certain things related to blockchain, which is a quite bespoke kind of a private chain. And that was really interesting in that space as well. So these two come together, and when I talk to Immutable, other aspects comes in. For example, the founders, the size of the team, growth, all those things come together. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. And we are super happy to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I think that's more or less all the core engineering squad questions from the community. What's up next then? To last question from me. What's like the main thing the squad is working on like today or this week?
Yeah, so it's relevant to the point I made earlier regarding, when we had 20 RPM, our architecture is one shape. Now it's when you're looking back, it'll be completely different. So we're working on something again completely different to cater for the ever-growing throughput requirements.
For sure. Cool. Now, some more casual questions before we end the call.
Sure.
One question from Akram. Are you drinking tea? Or what are you drinking right now?
Yeah, so I got coffee. Unfortunately, I don't have any tea in the house. If you're curious, I'm just drinking this espresso coffee. Like if I have the time and the convenience of getting a proper coffee, I would. But that's what's available at the moment. Yeah.
Awesome. And one casual question from me that I like to use to end this call is, what's one thing you do for free outside work?
Yeah.
Something you really like.
That's easy to answer. So I play basketball once a week, and for my for my age and for the business of work, once a week is a lot. But every Saturday night, 8 to 10, I play basketball.
Nice. I've noticed this. That's why you have so awesome shoes all the time. Now I know why.
Yes, now you know why.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's basically it. From Maug, Shine was asking, can you hit 3-pointers?
I'm working on it. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, is there any last words before we end the call?
I think, well, it's just very exciting to be close to the community and answering those questions. If another chance come by, I'll definitely take it and do it more often.
Awesome. Thank you, Shine. And thanks everybody for joining the community tea time. Next week we'll have a different squad, and hopefully by a few weeks we'll be rotating across different squads again, and Shine will be back. That's it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.